What is one country that you will never visit again? Syria. I went before the civil war and it was honestly one of the loveliest places I've ever been, with super nice friendly people. Add to that the food is amazing. It would break my heart to see some of the places now. My dad bought one of those 1,000 Places to See Before You Die books on a whim a few years back. I think it was published in the early 2000s and it, of course, had Damascus in it. It was absolutely heartbreaking to see what used to be, and it truly saddens me that I'll probably never get to see or experience it. It's one of the oldest and most culturally rich cities in the world, and today it's just full of rubble and death. It is a sobering reminder of how volatile this world is and how quickly things can change. South Africa. Some random truck rolled up outside of our hotel and got in a shootout for no apparent reason. I walked out after the shooting to see around 7 people dead or at least injured, including our tour guide. What a fact. My friend was told by the hotel management not to leave the hotel grounds for the duration of his stay. They'd wait at the gates of the hotel for the tourists to come out. Ridiculous. Chad. Definitely the most depressing country I have ever been to. Why? Imagine a country where 66% of the population falls below the poverty rate. Yet the country has an extremely high cost of living. It's a desert climate with lots of mosquitoes. The money that is invested there by Russia, China, and the US just ends up going to those in power. For me, the most depressing part is that I felt helpless. That no matter what I did, it would never be enough to help. No one really cares about the country other than its strategic location for fighting terrorists, and its oil. The only other reason I would never go back there is I got food poisoning twice in 2 weeks. I want to visit my own country if I could GTFO of it. Iran. Edit. People think that I don't like Iran, or I hate it or whatever, which is totally wrong. I love Iran. My main concern is about economy problems and political issues that made people suffer. Everyone deserves a decent life. I wish Iran was in a state that no one would think of leaving, and instead would work hard to restore its power and make it great again, which is hard. At the rate it's going, South Africa. Backpacked around in 2009, from Cape Town to Joburg, and just loved it. Legit my favorite country I traveled in, because it is so diverse in nature, people, just about every way. But as things get more dangerous, I'm just not sure if I'll ever get back there. Seeing footage of the riots right now breaks my heart. If anyone from South Africa is reading this, BTW, I wish you all the best and hope you stay safe. My wife is from Johannesburg and we visited in 2017 and it was the best trip I have ever been on, and so beautiful, but man, we had so many sketchy situations with people blocking off roads with stuff on fire, and just really intense interactions. Japan. I'm fat, black, and none too cute. Older people spit at me, no one would sit next to me on the train, or would make it painfully obvious they were uncomfortable during rush hours. Young people, adults, teens, older kids, had no filter and would happily laugh at, make faces, or even throw things at me, though that was only in Shibuya. It was hard for me to get work as a teacher, even with my training and credentials, because I had to have my picture, and no one wanted a black, and ugly, teacher. I felt like a monster the entire time and slowly shut myself away until I had quit my jobs and only left at night to get food from a convenience store. The last time I went outside during the day in Japan, I was going to cancel my cell phone plan before I left, and their teens pointed and laughed before running away screaming I was a monster. I was mortified when the adults looked at me and I could hear them go, "Well, look at her." It took me 4 months back home to leave my apartment during the day in the States. I didn't go thinking I'd be loved, just thought I'd have a nice experience in my 20s. Japan is a modern, beautiful country with some wonderful people, but I just didn't get lucky enough to meet them. My pet peeve is when I mention this, people go, "Oh, Japan was great to me. You must have done something wrong." I'm glad you had a good time. I hope the next person has a great time too, but this happened to be my experience, that's all. Haiti. Went on a medical mission. 1 day was spent at the beach. We got caught in the middle of a protest. I was groped, several other people were punched. It was terrifying. They only stopped when one of our translators yelled that we were medical workers. We only ended up spending 1 hour at the beach so we wouldn't end up driving back through the same area at night. When we reached that area, it was clear of people. A few overturned vehicles were on fire. A UN detail was hanging out in a big armored vehicle with a very large gun on top. I can't imagine how awful it must be now with all of the civil unrest. Egypt. Honestly, I didn't like the vibe from the locals. My 17-year-old sister got molested from behind by a local while going into the pyramid tomb at Giza. You have to hunch over and move single file through a narrow dark tunnel, with people in front and people behind. You can't turn around or go backwards. The man behind her escaped as soon as she got out of the tunnel, crying. My dad, who was a few people ahead of her in the single file line, could do nothing when he heard her yell out. Egypt is not a very good place for women, unfortunately, as far as I know. I am so sorry for your sister. Yeah, I remember the single line down to the tombs. It was quite a challenge because of the oxygen deprivation. I'll bet a lot of people get claustrophobic. I'm sorry to hear about your sister. There's very little you can do about it in a confined space like that. Dubai. While interesting, it's really just a total rip-off of Western culture. I flew 12 hours from NYC only to be surrounded by Cheesecake Factory, Wendy's, California Pizza Kitchen, etc. No real culture. Their oldest building is from the 70s. Don't go there and expect some culture, I'd say. There are literally buildings in New York older than Dubai itself. There are literally people older than Dubai. Afghanistan? Don't think I need to elaborate. I served in Kandahar, and it was gorgeous. Reminded me a lot of Napa Valley, California. Except that everyone was poor. And there were people trying to kill you. And the IEDs. If it weren't for the fact it looks like there is going to be another 25 years of Taliban rule, I would have loved to go back as a tourist. Egypt. It's really depressing. Lots of graffiti around the pyramids and other tourist attractions. You can bribe guides to let you do anything, including do the graffiti. Everyone is trying to scam or con you if you're a tourist, and frankly it's also really filthy. And yeah, that's if you're a dude. If you're a woman, just don't. Cambodia. But only because I was mugged in Phnom Penh. Cambodia kinda same for me. I was mugged too, but in Colombia, which I'd probably go to again. I just found Cambodia sad and unsettling. A brutal recent history and a country that kind of has very little, so virtually all you encounter is set up to appease tourists. Drunken Europeans and Americans walking around partying with a local girl under their arm. Everywhere I went was like fighting off women trying to give you a happy ending massage. Every cabbie and tuk-tuk driver trying to sell you drugs and women. I was only there a week and didn't go too far out of Siem Reap and Phnom Penh. So certainly there's more to the country outside those cities, but the whole experience just bummed me out. Yugoslavia. Loved my time there, but it no longer exists. Egypt. Nice place, some great things to see, but the fucking street vendors are just horrible bastards. Pounce on you as soon as you get off the coach, trying to put shit on you. Some fucker literally tried to take the wallet out of my shorts pocket, not pickpocketing, brazen with me, stood looking at him. I lost my shit at this point and was quickly surrounded by about 10 of the fuckers. I fancied my chances, to be honest, but not fucking worth getting stabbed or getting locked up in a shithole jail. I legit will never visit Egypt again. I went with my family as an 18-year-old and was warned by a stone-faced male receptionist. Do not leave the resort without your father, it would not be good for you. Well, okay, it turns out even within the resort it wasn't great. I had hotel staff take pictures of me by the pool, saying sexually suggestive things about me in front of my parents, asking me out on dates to bars outside of the hotel. My mom and I went to a touristy shop across the road from the hotel, and one of the men grabbed me by the waist and thrust his crotch into me. I have never seen my mom fight someone off before. Overall 0-10 experience. South Africa. Beautiful place, but the crime is horrible. Someone tried to kidnap me when I was 9. Monaco. Wasn't that interesting. The buildings are really ugly for how rich it is. The views are pretty though, so I'd recommend the bus from Nice. Venezuela. I visited my extended family there, near Caracas, as a young child and had an amazing time, but things there have really gone south since then. Pretty much all my family members that were there have left for obvious reasons. I met a couple of Venezuelans in a bar back in like 2007. They told me about the government had come and seized their farm that had been in their family for like 100 years. They had no choice but to stay on as employees or leave. Eventually they made their way to the US where they were working as mechanics. One of the saddest stories I'd ever heard. Jamaica. Got mugged within the first 5 minutes, I kid you not. I had a girlfriend who went to Jamaica with her family, and while she was sleeping in her hotel room, a local climbed the balcony and snuck into her room. Unlucky for him, her dad is ex-Georgian Special Forces or something and ended up throwing him from the third-story balcony. They went down to look for him, but by the time they got down he was gone. China. I had to go there a couple of times for work, but the feeling of being surveilled, the pollution, the horrible pedestrian experience, and getting scanned by a cabbie turned me off. Venezuela. If I ever get out of this shit country, I'm never coming back. Egypt. Once I saw the pyramids, I hopped on a plane home. Haiti. Went and did medical relief in a field hospital after the earthquake. Recent stuff aside, that country is, and has been fucked. 1. Poor infrastructure. 2. Poor education. 3. No significant industries. 4. No natural resource advantage. 5. Corrupt government, polarized political climate. 6. Island nation, so all imports are more expensive. 7. Poor medical system. Anything a country would need to get a leg up is just non-existent. I'm a pretty positive person, and met the loveliest people there, but I've never been more depressed or pessimistic about a place's future. Egypt seems to be mentioned a bunch so far, and I'd like to plus 100 that. I've traveled to over 15 countries, and Egypt was the first that came to mind when I saw the title. A nice man sitting next to me on a bus to Cairo had the shit kicked out of him by police at the Suez Canal checkpoint. They literally were punching him in the face as hard as they could while he was in the chair next to me, begging them to stop until they dragged him off, never to be seen again probably. Like people are bashing Morocco because of beggars or annoying negotiating tactics. But in Morocco I at least never once feared for my safety, or the safety of my group once while in Morocco. You can travel that country relatively freely and have a decent enough time if you go to the right spots, and have a meh time if you go to the wrong ones. Egypt crosses a totally different line, especially given the fact it is still considered somewhat a tourist destination, and not lumped in with Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, etc. I'd definitely say it should be widely considered in group closer to Afghanistan or Syria than, say, Israel or Turkey. The pyramids area was absolutely disgusting. So many people there to fuck you, mistreated camels, little children crawling through garbage piles. If you are a woman or have a woman in your group, then holy fuck, it's even worse. It is impossible to stay out past sunset as the danger and sketch levels go to 100. And I'm not just being sensitive. People assault and harass women, they'll berate you, etc. I was so lucky I looked Egyptian, according to them, while I was there, and it still didn't help much. Fuck Egypt, man. My good friend is Egyptian, amazing history, some great people for sure, but fuck that place, and he agrees 100%, especially since he's a Coptic Christian. 2 good things there. 1. Great swimming and chilling on the Sinai. Went to Bursweir near Israel and it was not bad at all. 2. Some of the museums were pretty fucking cool. This makes me so sad to read. My mum has always been obsessed with Egypt, and has been there quite a few times back before I was born and a couple times when I was young. I grew up hearing stories about the pyramids and the tombs, watching documentaries and playing any game that was Egypt-themed together. I always imagined one day I would be able to go there and finally be able to share in the wonders with her. But for the last few years I have heard only negative things, and I fear I'll never be able to go there, especially as a single woman. Thailand. Went there during the coup in 2013. Got stuck. Too much prostitution and child prostitution out in the open for me. Also, being there during the coup and getting a crazy flu and hospitalized in Bangkok fucking sucked. Love my Thai friends, but Bangkok and Pattaya are just too crazy for me. Lived in Thailand for 12 years. Suggest you get as far away from Bangkok or Pattaya as possible, your opinion will change. Morocco. Was basically confined to the hotel as you were confronted by aggressive beggars and shop workers. Been to Morocco twice and I feel you. The solution for my partner and myself during our visit was to act totally indifferent to everyone trying to push whatever. I found wearing sunglasses made it easier for me. Keep your head high and play it cool. The pushers are only interested in your pocketbook. India, no cliches or anything else, but I just can't stand the hygiene right there, was a hard travel 3 years ago. Bad hygiene and a lack of civic sense is extreme. Have had cab drivers pull up on the sidewalk on multiple occasions so that they could pee. The garbage littering and cows roaming around on the streets shitting everywhere is also such a common sight. Yay, my country of Mongolia is not on here. Or maybe because not many people go there to begin with. Edit. Mongolia is one of the last frontiers in Eurasia. In fact, people call it the Wild East sometimes. Still unspoilt and raw, especially the countryside. People not ruined by tourism yet, and not too bothered by race or creed. Scrolling down till I see my country. As an Egyptian, it's scrolling down till I don't see my country. Egypt. But more specifically Cairo. The way they treat women and their own people is honestly heartbreaking and disgusting. I have never wanted to be out of a country so fast in my life. A friend of mine was groped on the bus and a fellow student told her, "That is what you get for not riding the all-female bus." I never felt safe and I constantly felt sorry for almost everything I saw. The poor, the animals, the women. It honestly was devastating. Edit. I've gotten some comments or messages about, depends where you go and where you stay, or rape is just as high there as it is in other countries. I am a female that was traveling with my good friend who was a local from Madi. I wore pants and conservative clothing to respect the culture. We even had a driver and male Egyptian friends escorting us, and still had issues. They told us to never be without an escort. Ever. Yes, Alex and Dahab are beautiful. But the experience as women doesn't change drastically from Cairo. The country is rich in history and has some great diving. But the behavior from many males and the infrastructure is fucked. If you're interested in learning something new, look up Garbage City in Cairo. That should give you an idea of some of the poverty levels happening there. Which country will you never visit again? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.